Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Chop It Up Sports. Starting our new series today, More Than a Runner. We're going to be talking to my former teammates, current teammates, peers, rivals, whatever it might be, people in the running community, and we're just going to get their thoughts on their running experience, what running means to them. It's such a niche sport and just such a niche activity. And we're going to start it off with a good friend of mine, this Snohomish, Washington native from Cedar Park Christian High School. He's a 2024 GNAC bronze medalist as a part of the DMR team at Northwest Nazarene University. He's the 8th fastest steeplechaser in school history at NNU and a member of the first NNU cross-country team to qualify for the NCAA Division II National Championships. My good friend, Micah Chi.
Thanks, Carter, bro. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about this.
Of course, dude. Appreciate you taking the time out of the day. Know you're super busy over there in Nampa. We'll just kind of kick it off with your running journey. You've been running for a while. You played other sports in high school, but running's kind of always been at the core of that. So just kind of let our listeners know how you got to where you're at today.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really running was never really on my radar until, I was always that kid that wanted to be a football player growing up. I wanted to be in the NFL when I was like 12, But one summer I broke my collarbone. So I wasn't able to play football. Doctor said no contact sports. And my dad was like, "Oh, you can run cross country." And I was like, "What the heck is that, dude?" So that kind of just got me started. I tried it out and I was like, this is kind of weird. But I was kind of good at it. And I had a good team and stuff. So I was like, maybe I should keep doing it. And I kept on doing it. And the more I did it, the more I liked it. And I was still playing basketball and stuff at the time, but eventually it really just narrowed down to running for me. And the closer I got to graduating high school too, I think the more I realized this is kind of what I want to focus on. You know what I mean?
So how much of that when you're in high school is I'm good at this and I want to continue to be good at this as opposed to I love running? Because I know for me, I also played basketball in high school, wanted to go play JUCO, NAIA hoops, and didn't really care about running.
Yeah.
I knew I was good at it, but I wasn't like, man, I love this. It was like I like winning more than I probably like the joy of running itself. So how much of that for you was enjoying running and how much of it was I'm really good at this and I want to continue to pursue that avenue because I'm good at it?
Yeah, a lot of it was just because I thought I was pretty good at it. I also think that I just kind of found my place in the team, especially. I like the cross country team, the track team, finding my place there with those people, finding leadership positions in there too. I think that was really what kept me coming back, as well as doing pretty well in the sport itself. And I had goals and I had ambitions, but running itself, I don't really know if I really loved running itself that much, just because I don't know. I just didn't really understand it as much as I do now, at least. I feel like I've learned so much since graduating to the point where I'm like, oh, wow, I feel like I was missing out on so much of what running is. So I don't know if I really loved it in high school, but I definitely loved the team and, loved being competitive.
Yeah, you're third year NNU now, and you have one more year left of college eligibility. Has anything changed from I don't love running, but I'm good at it and I like the atmosphere to where you're at now?
For sure. Yeah, I'd say I love running now. And I'd say that changed probably my sophomore year cross country season. Um, our freshman year cross country season, we were just trying to figure out what the heck was going on.
It was a
Uh,
war. It was just straight up a war.
Me and Carter were in the back. I'll tell you that. Me and Carter were in the back. At the end of the season, Coach Mitchell had to say to us, Micah, Carter, it'll come. It'll come. That was
Yeah.
his message to that was his message to us. So we were battling. We were battling. Really trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Um, just definitely engaging a new environment and stuff. But I think I learned so much about, again, like I was saying, what running is, um, what it looks like to just be surrounded by guys who love running, and just the relational aspect of it as well has been huge. But then also, like I think that after my freshman year, taking the summer to really train, um, I went home, and a lot of the training was by myself, and I was putting in long miles, a lot of hard workouts just out on the roads by myself, with just really wanting to get better. And I realized like I actually really enjoy the process now. And I think it just took time, took a lot of time to develop, but I think I had a really good reason to start doing the things I was doing, and out of that I started to love the process of it.
I'm glad you brought up the process because I think that's a lot of things. Me especially, like with runners, it's so hard because you're always chasing a time or a race. You're trying to qualify for something, but if you can't get through, the Monday easy run or the Sunday long run, like you have to find ways to enjoy that because even with how much we race on the collegiate circuit between cross country to indoor to outdoor, I mean, you're racing maybe 15, 20 times a year in total, and you're
Right.
practicing, 6 to 7 times, however much you're racing, right?
At
And
least.
so
Yeah.
you have to find a way to enjoy that. And that's what I love so much about the NNU culture. And you mentioned Coach Mitchell and just kind of the group that he has out there in
Yeah.
Idaho. It's just a fun group, and the personalities collide perfectly. One thing I want to ask you about because we both came to NNU, but from very different backgrounds. You came from smaller private school and then went to NNU, where it's also a small private school. It's just a college instead of a high school. Where I came
Hmm.
from, Roseburg High School, big public school, 6A, and then coming out to Idaho, maybe the adjustment from Roseburg to Idaho isn't that much different, but going to NNU where it's a tight knit community, it's a Christian private institution, that was a big adjustment for me, and I know it was for a lot of other people as well. How important was it for you just kind of having that continuity, and maybe what were some differences as well?
Yeah, no, it was great. I my community at home, growing up in my church and my school, was all like so incredible, such a blessing for me. And I think with that coming to NNU, I had high expectations for the beginning. Like I was just like, well, like Christian school, um, lots of opportunities. Like I think I had a lot of expectations for what it was going to look like, and I think at first it was a little hard for me for sure, just because um, you're not going to be best friends with everybody in a year or in a few months. You know what I mean? And I think for me, having had like that community and culture that I had experienced in high school, it took a while for me to figure out what that looked like in a new place where I didn't know anybody. Um, and I think I had a hard time opening myself up to it, just because, um, like frankly, like the first thoughts that I had for a long time were just like, this isn't what I expected. This isn't what I had at home. Um, but I think the more time I spent with everybody, I mean, the more time you spend with everyone, the closer you get, the more you get to know each other, the more you get to share with each other. And I think for me, like eventually, as I put myself into the community, as we found what our team looked like together, and those relationships came together. I think I've seen the similar just blessings, and also like just such a great place of belonging and great culture, uh, that I'd say reflects very similarly just like what I've always valued because of what I had at home.
One story I wanted to bring up was our summer after our freshman year. I came up to Seattle for a weekend, and we had a pretty like serious conversation of, dude, after this upcoming year, I'm probably out of here. And we were kind of both on the same page of like, we just went through trench warfare for freshmen who
Mhm.
were running not very high mileage in high school. I mean, I was maybe running 10 to 15 miles a week.
Maybe, yeah.
I would imagine you were above that because I'm not sure how you could get less than that. But still, like as mid distance guys and freshmen, and then in November you're running a 10K in cross country, and you're like, this is literally hell.
Yeah.
And so making that transition, then we go on to have a great sophomore year. We both had huge leaps. I did end up following through. I did transfer out after my sophomore year. But I think we would both agree after our second year, we felt a lot different than we did after our freshman season. What do you think that is? Is it just Coach Mitchell and kind of his culture and the way he teaches? Was it the NNU community as a whole? Like, what kind of shifted the mindset after year one as opposed to year two?
Yeah. Year one, I mean, year one was great. I mean, I feel like it's not like we have anything bad to say about the team or the people or anything about year one. I just think we hadn't found our place yet for the most part. And I feel like, I feel like we really became a family, like our team, like our guys became brothers. Like, I feel like that really happened year two for us. Um, just because we've been established there for us, like this place actually started to become somewhat of a home, and I think that makes a really big difference. I think a lot of it too, like you're saying, is Coach Mitchell's philosophy. Like it, it's almost what do I say? It it's 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 a philosophy that's really easy to want to buy into, like just this idea of like just all or nothing, this gritty, like scrappy underdog mentality, like being a part of that, and then like just chasing greatness and always chasing excellence. Um, I think something about that is just so rewarding. And also, again, when you find other people that have the same ambitions as you, like on our team, and who are also just great guys in general and who love each other and pour into each other. Um, yeah, I think we formed such tight bonds with everybody. We became such a family, and like we're willing to go to war with each other every week, and we love each other for it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think it's definitely the community that Coach Mitchell's fostered, but also the community that guys like Brody Kemble and even Ian Stockett have built with just interpersonal relationships on the team.
One thing I want to ask you about, and it's kind of the whole purpose of this series, and we're going to get into this with a bunch of different runners, but we have team meetings at NNU, and they're weekly, and they can run long, and whatever you want to say
Always.
about them. But it's always this two-sided coin with Mitchell, where on one hand he's very serious about running. He wants everyone to run well, and it's pretty cut and dry what he expects from his team and how they're going to get there. There's not a lot of sugarcoating things or being dramatic. It's pretty straightforward in terms of here's how we ran, here's how we're going to get better, et cetera, et cetera. But outside of that, there's also a focus outside of running, and whether that's faith, whether that's relationships, he also opens the door for people to grow in that aspect as well. I know for
Mm.
me, I would go attend our men's group studies and things like that, and that was huge for me because it allowed me to be with people on my team, but it wasn't in the atmosphere of running. We weren't working out on the track or we weren't doing grass loops. It was just kind of a period to take your mind off of that. How important has that balance been for you just in the culture that he's created? Because it can be really easy to just get caught up in your performance and your races or whatever's next. Because when you're spending 2 to 4 hours at a practice and that's kind of the core of your day, it can be really easy for that to be all you think about. So, how do you kind of balance, I'm going to focus on running and then I'm going to compartmentalize that and kind of turn my focus to something else?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, I'm involved in a lot of different areas on campus. Like, I, I, I definitely just like a lot of times it's hard to balance, but like I just think that, like you said, having all these things that as human beings, as college students, even just as students, we have academics and stuff. But um, I think, like you're saying, Coach Mitchell definitely um, values running so much, right? I mean, running is his life, and it's also a huge part of everyone's lives on the team. But he doesn't make running the end all be all of everything, um, and nobody on our team really does. Even though it's a great part of our life and it's a huge part of our life, um, I feel like the language that whenever we're talking is there's always more. There's always something bigger, right? I mean, specifically when it comes to faith, when we're talking as a team, or when Coach Mitchell's talking to us in our team seminars, or when we're having those Bible studies, I think we recognize or are constantly recognizing that we are always doing the things we do for something greater than ourselves, and we're doing even just greater than for each other, or just for our program, or just for Coach Mitchell. Um, Everything we do is worship for God, and running is just such a great avenue to do that. But it's not the only way. So I think it's important to recognize while we're running that we're doing it as worship, we're doing it as a way to glorify God, and we're going to put our all into it. Um, and it's a lifestyle for sure, but a lifestyle that also fits in with other aspects of worship, like communal worship with in church or through your relationships and just loving each other. I mean, so much of running, which is I think part of what I love about it is like a lot you have your workouts and stuff where you're breathing hard, but you also a lot of the mileage is just you're just out there with the boys cruising for 14, 15 miles, an hour and a half at a time. Coach Mitchell's out there with us sometimes just talking, you know what I mean? And like those building those relationships, I think is such a great way to take the running, like just such hyper focus on running out of running itself even. So even when we're running, we're focusing on just our relationships with each other. We're talking about faith. We're talking about problems we're having at school, just all these different areas of life. You know what I mean? And they all collide into one. And that's what makes it so great.
You mentioned, running not being life, all this other stuff going on. And I think it's important to have other things. Like if you're a runner, yes, it's going to be a core part of your life more than likely, because if you're a high mileage person, you're running 70 to 90-mile weeks, you're probably running twice a day, or you're at least running for an hour, hour and a half at a time. But even with that being said, if you can't find something else outside of
Mm-hmm.
that, then it's going to be a struggle. And the reality is not everybody is Cole Hawker. Not everyone's Josh Kerr,
Right.
where your job is to run and to perform. Especially us, small school athletes and things like that. Like it's easy to look up at the D1 guys and those upper echelon dudes and be like, wow, like running's just their life. That must be awesome. But I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of challenges that small school athletes have that people don't realize, because not only are we trying to be the best that we can be at our sport, but we also are facing the reality that we're done competing after you
Yeah.
graduate, after you walk across the stage. So not only are you pouring into your running, you're also pouring into your academics, which, being completely honest, not all athletes at the Division 1 level have to do that. Like there are guys at U of O that are not like, oh, I really need to go to my entry level comm class today
Mm.
because they're going to be playing in the NFL in 3 years. We don't have that luxury, right? So
Right.
you have your school, you have internships, especially in the summer. Like it's so hard because the summer and when you're training, that's the foundation of your season. Like your season essentially relies on what you do in the summertime, but that's also really the only opportunity where you can go and create a living for yourself or go make money, because that's really the only time you have availability to go work. And so for you, when you're kind of approaching this last year, year and a half of your career, how much of it is investing into track as opposed to investing into kind of your future? Because it's this weird balance, right?
Right.
Where you want to finish the thing strong. You want to go all out. You want to be able to be done with your career and say, I gave it everything I can. But if you don't try and go get an internship or you don't show up to class, it's like, great, I was a pretty good college runner. Now I don't have a job. So it can be tough.
Right.
It's a tough,
Yeah.
but it's
Right. Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I think and this is always a balance that I've tried to find, and I've done well at it and I've not done well at it. I've focused too much on running. I've taken away from running more than I'd wanted to. Um and again, like I think that any college student should find as many ways to get involved as they can while still maintaining uh, while still being able to pour into what they want to pour into as much as they can. You know what I mean? Like I think the most important thing is to like to reflect, take time to reflect and intentionally think about like what are my priorities? Like what if I can pick three things I really want to pour into this school year? What are these three things I want to pour into? And outside of that, I think a lot of times you have to say no to other good things, you know? Um, but like you're saying for us, like as we're graduating, I think one of those things has to be pouring into your future. What does it look like for me to, like academically, obviously, but also set up like internships or opportunities to go into the field that I want to go into? Well, how am I setting myself up to gain experience so that once I leave school, I'm not blind. You know what I mean? I know what to look for. Um, so I think like as I'm looking into this next year, I'm cutting a lot of things I'm doing. Like I'm involved in a lot of areas, but I'm having to slim those down because I'm realizing I have to be able to invest in my future. I want to invest in track and I want to invest in the relationships I have while I have them here. And those are like three really important things, um, as well as my relationship with the Lord. Yeah, like on top of that, and through that all, of course. Um, and I think it's hard for I think people are a lot of times on different ends where like they either like have to do everything and they want to do everything, and I feel like I'm that way, or they don't want to put themselves out there too much, or they're comfortable with where they're at, and I think there has to be a balance. And for us, I think, and for me looking into next year, like definitely like still wanting to commit to track as much as I can. Um, and I like that Coach Mitchell doesn't require. I mean, I don't feel like out of all the sports, like track doesn't require a lot of time commitment. It's good, you know, it's consistent time commitment, but it's not a lot to the point where you can't manage other things. And I think that's what's super helpful about it. Um, so that's kind of where I'll be next year with that.
What does running look like for Micah Chi after college? Because the interesting thing that I tell people is, like, unfortunately for us, well, I guess not unfortunately, but God kind of gave us this gift of
Yeah,
running. Now, the unfortunate part about it, and the reason I say that, is because it hurts. It is not, my gift is golfing. My gift is not going for walks. Not to say people can't have multiple gifts, but for those that maybe aren't familiar with the sport, this one is extremely painful.
hmm,
And distance running, it will question why you do certain things, why you chose this lifestyle. I know I've looked in the mirror and asked myself that plenty of times,
yeah,
but there's no real like finish line. Like, yeah, maybe there's some ultimate goal. Maybe it's a 4 minute mile. Maybe it's running a marathon. But I think, especially in the society we live in now with running and all these blazing fast times, people just kind of idolize these landmarks of like, oh, I have to run a 4 minute mile, or oh, I have to
sure,
reach this time. Like, I remember coming out of high school, I was like, if I could just run a sub 2 minute mile or a sub 2 minute 800, I would just like my track career would be satisfied. It wouldn't matter. And now here I am 3 years later, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way where it's like, if I don't win the championship, I'm a failure. Or
right.
if our team doesn't win our conference, it's a complete failure. And I just think that is so far removed from the truth. And I think there's this huge misconception of like, there's either people who win and there's people who lose, and the people who win reap the benefits of everything, and the people who lose reap the benefits of nothing. And I just don't
Hmm.
think that's the case. I think you can be the fastest guy in the world and still be not a great human being. Like, and I think there's examples of that throughout the history of sports where you have guys where, yeah, they were elite at their game or at their craft, but outside of that, it's hard to find people who have positive things to say about them. And so the reason I say all that is just for you, is there something after your post collegiate career where it's like, listen, if I'm close to reaching this landmark, I would love to do it? Is it, are you pouring more into running after college? Is it taking a back seat in your life? Like, kind of where does that fit in for you?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends, you know? Um, I think running is such a great analogy for life. You know, it's such a journey. And like you're saying, I mean, I believe that, you know, no matter how good you do, that there's always going to be more that you could want. You know what I mean? I mean, even in the world, you could do so much in the world. You can have all the things you could possibly need or want and still be wanting more. You know, I just think that like human nature is always wanting. Um, and I obviously think that that's ultimately satisfied in our relationship with the Lord. But when it comes to running, um, I love it now. So it's kind of weird for me because I'm like, never thought I would. I didn't even think I was going to really run in college actually until it just happened. And now
Yeah,
here I am,
same.
like, exactly. And I'm here I am thinking, like, now what? Um, because I think for me, for Micah Chi, I could see myself coaching in the future. I could see myself definitely coaching a high school cross country team, um, or track and field, or even just being an assistant coach for a while, or just I don't know. I love the community and I love the sport now, and so I think if I'm staying involved in it, I'll want to continue participating as well. Um, I mean, there's just random goals where it's like I'd love to like break 15 in the 5K. I haven't run a 5K since high school, so maybe I could just go out and do it. I don't know, but um, I think even if there aren't like these huge benchmarks to make, I think just always bettering yourself is and always being able to challenge yourself is a reward in itself. Like you said, it hurts, it's painful, it's hard, but that's almost the most rewarding part about it. Is like I pushed through the entire last mile of an 8K and I blew out my PR. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. I think running is always there's always going to be a pursuit to it for as long as you choose there to be. And for me, I think I love being a part of it. So I'll keep on doing it as long as I can, um, until maybe I won't want to anymore. But for now, I'd like to keep on running as much as I can and keep up my fitness just because also it feels good, feels good to be fast. So I think part of it is I've got to always be faster than my little brother. So
Hmm.
he's still going to be in college after I graduate. So I've got to at least keep on running and training so that he doesn't get ahead of me. And then once he's done, I'll just kind of pace that off of him too.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was going to be my next question. Was we had quite the family reunion just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm running for Southern Oregon now. I'm back home. You're still at NNU. Your brother runs for Northwest University up out of Seattle, also in the Cascade Conference. But yeah, just kind of talk about what that's like being able to compete against your younger brother. Because I know for me personally, I have a younger brother. He's going to be in college next year. He's also coming down here to Ashland. So where he's a sprinter and I'm a distance runner, we'll never really face off. We're just going to kind of be rooting for each other. You got to, well, I guess you guys got put in different heats, but still just that same environment, being able to race against one
Hmm.
another. Kind of just speak to what that's like.
Dude, yeah, it's special. It is so special. I mean, I love my brother. Me and him, um, I, I feel like we're just. I mean, he's my best friend. I feel like we're just. I don't know. We're the same person. Like we just understand each other so well. And um, in high school, we always did everything together as well. So I mean, he'd run with me. He was involved in all the things I was involved in. Um, Moving away, that was part of the reason that was hard for me was leaving my brother and my family. But I mean, me and him have definitely a special brotherhood. Um, and so I haven't been able to run with him since high school, but like I've spent the past few years encouraging him. We'll run together when I'm home, and just like spending time together is so special. And then when I heard they were coming down to a meet that was in Oregon, but not the same meet that we were going to be at. And I texted their coach and I was like, "Hey, you guys got to come to this meet," and they made it happen. And like I was so looking forward to it, and just the opportunity to be there with him, to warm up with him, to talk about race strategy together, to talk about. I mean, I felt like we were back. You know what I mean? Like, um, and and just being able to like cheer him on, root for him, watch him excel, watch him try new things, and go through the things that I was going through, and that we get to do it together. Um, I don't know. It's just so special to be together and to have that. And like I'm talking about with running, like running just brings relationships with other people, and I also think that like for me and my brother, running uh, has been able to make our relationship stronger just because we are able to uh, bond over that and we're able to pursue something great together.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that meet up. And when I reflect back on kind of that week, the week leading up to it, once I knew that you guys were kind of coming out to Corvallis, I was like, oh, here we go.
Here we go.
And I mean, the race, it was what it was. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything, spectacular. And I think everyone would have loved to run faster. But the drive home from Corvallis back down here, you take time to reflect to yourself. It's dark. You're in the van. You're in the car, whatever. And for me, my first thought wasn't really on the race. I was just so happy because of how far I've come. And I'm sure you felt the very similar way.
Dude.
I'm sure your family felt that way. Where our freshman year, if someone was to lay out a piece of paper and been like, "Hey, Micah, you're top 10 all time in the steeplechase. You're a bronze medalist at the conference championships. Carter, did this and that," and I think we
Yeah.
both would have just been like, "Okay, cool. Like, say no more. We're good." And now at this point, you're still kind of chasing more. But for me, at that time, it was just reflecting on, I'm getting to run against 5 or 6 guys that I don't get to see anymore, but I still consider my brothers on a daily basis. I mean, I still talk to you guys week in, week out. And
Always FaceTime, bro.
yeah, I mean, the FaceTime, it's the only way to have a conversation,
Of
really.
course.
But it's just, to me, that's when I think about running and when I reflect on my career, those are going to be the moments that I think about. It's not going to be the time that I ran and, oh, I won this race in August, or, I won this track meet. It's not going to be, it's cool. Like, you run to run fast, but it's going to be, when I ran in Corvallis and I ran against my entire team, and then we got to hang out for the rest of the meet. Like, those are kind of the moments that running presents, and that's why I think it's so important to
Hmm.
kind of talk to people like you and talk to other runners. Where yes, you run because you want to pursue a time or an achievement or whatever, but there's so much more to focus on outside of that. And so I think for me, and
Right.
obviously you as well with your brother, running is not just chasing a time. You're not just running for an achievement or for a practical reward. You're running,
Hmm.
for the relationships and the brothers next to you. And so the last thing I kind of want to ask you about, you were part of the first NNU team, cross country team, to go to the national championships out there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Talk about that experience, because when we got there, the program was, for all intents and purposes, in the dumpster. Like, the distance team was bad. I think they took 2 guys to regionals the year before we got there, maybe 3. And you fast forward 3 years later, you got guys competing for all American spots. You have all region runners, and you're able to punch your ticket to nationals, which is super exciting. Just kind of talk about what led up to that season, what that season was like, because it wasn't necessarily clear cut at the beginning of the year that you guys were going to be punching your ticket to
Right.
Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like that was, like you said, it was years in the making. Uh, almost that entire group, almost the entire group that we had there had been all juniors and seniors, except for I think one sophomore was with us, Neff. Um, and I think it was just the culmination of everything we'd been working for the past few years we've been here. I mean, guys like Brody Kemble, Aaron Heberline, um, even Grady as a transfer, but I mean, he's been in the college scene for a long time, and Ian Stockett, Asher Ingram, all these guys just like from 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 our freshman year. It's like we were brought together and under like this conversation that we are going to make something great out of this. Like this team is special for a reason. These guys have been brought together for a reason, and something's great. Something great's going to come out of it. And I think we've always had that expectation. We've always had that belief. Even I mean, when with you on the team, sophomore year, we were like, yeah, we have a chance. We know something. This team is special. Great can happen. We can do big things. We always believed in ourselves. We believed in each other, and we believed in our coach. And I think again, we've had Coach Mitchell instilling that in all of us, and also I've got to shout out Captain Brody Kemble. Like he's always had that belief in us, belief in himself, and he models it for us every day. Um, so I think like that these past few years have all led to Kenosha, to this last season. This last season was special for sure. Like we all knew, like this is our really big chance. This is our like this could happen. We have a really special thing here, um, and all season working so hard. Like again, like but and we've been here together for 3 years. We've built this team. We've built this brotherhood. We're working hard for each other. We're going out to these races and we're just battling, you know, in knowing that we have a chance, and that everything could lead to it. I think we at the beginning of the season we were looking good. We were looking so great, and we're feeling really good about everything. Injury hit us, sickness hit us, a lot of adversity, just left and right. I mean, we had guys dropping like flies to the point where we hit like GNX and everybody's just like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Like, we're going to have to figure things out. We're going to really have to figure things out or else we don't have a shot, basically. Um, and it kind of got to the point where like we had to sit back and like kind of evaluate like, all right, like we're kind of in this low point in the season. We're not doing as well as we thought we would be at this point, based off of what we've seen out of ourselves and what we believe ourselves to have. And I think we just had to kind of take a moment as a team, and as individuals, and as just runners and people, as brothers, to be able to be like, guys, I know that we're in a tough spot, but we're still the same team that we've always had, and we'll always have each other, and we're always going to fight for each other. So when regionals, our nationals qualifier comes around, we can believe in ourselves, we can believe in our team, and we can believe in all the work that we've put in for each other, and we can go out there and do something great. And that was the expectation we came in having, to regionals, was we can do something great. We can go out there and prove what we've known all along. And I think we're so blessed that the Lord had us on the day, man. Like he strengthened us. He gave us what we needed. And as we, I don't know, just crossing the finish line at regionals was such a special moment, even just because it was like, oh my gosh, like I think I think we did it. You know what I mean? There's like just that moment you're like, I think we did it. And I think that it's all coming together. Um, and the trip to nationals was great. It was so special. I mean, I feel like we were all able to take it in and appreciate it. And not just be like, oh, we made it to nationals, whatever, but like we got out there and we battled. We did something great. And again, like I felt like a culmination of our cross country seasons with each other, and our relationships with each other in a sense too. Um, and it was great. There was a moment we finished the race. Uh, we were cooling down. We were going down. If the Kenosha course was ridiculous. There's just this huge hill. We're like running back down the hill, and we're like, dude, how do we ever run up this thing? Um, and we all just took a moment. Like we just stood there, and we were just talking about how grateful we were. And we circled up and we prayed, and we just thanked the Lord for the opportunity for this season. And I felt like that really wrapped up just what we had the whole season. It was a season of gratitude and love for running and for each other and for the Lord.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I remember you guys calling me before regionals, like less than an hour before the gun goes off.
Yeah.
And like I was nervous for you guys. We had already ran our conference championships. I think maybe we were getting ready for Natties out in Florida, but it was just like no one was rooting harder for you guys than myself. Like outside of the team and maybe the people within the NNU cross country program, like I was cheering so hard. And me leaving NNU, and I've said this before, maybe not on the show, but it had nothing to do with running whatsoever. It was purely kind of an objective personal decision.
Yeah.
And to see you guys reach the goals the way you did, it was awesome. And, even when I left, there's a lot of people, I was like, man, like imagine what we could do, kind of that hopeful, optimistic
Right.
saying like you were talking about. And even for me personally, like internally, I kind of trusted. I'm like, they're going to be okay. Like the talent's there. And clearly it was. And I remember, it's just so cool. And like we talked about our relationship with the team is, I finished our national championship meet, and I run a great race, finished fourth, whatever, and first person I call on my phone is the NNU group chat. And, talking to the guys, we're all
Oh, dude,
celebrating. You guys
so
are getting ready to
excited.
run the next day. It's just awesome. And once again, like that is what running is about. And that's what I want to kind of encourage to our listeners is yes, there's kind of this, I mean, I don't know what you would call it necessarily, but there's this motive with running is it's just this dark like sport and you got to lock in and it's just brutal and it's you against the world and just kind of
Hmm.
this I don't know, like aggressive, like David Goggins esque kind of motive. And
Right.
I'm not saying like you do have to have that dog in you to run a little bit. Like you have to have that. But
Oh yeah.
it's not just like nothing else matters. I'm tuning out. Like if you're not on my team, if you're not with me, screw you. Like it's not about that. There's so much more to running. And I don't think you have to be I don't think you have to be a bad person or a jerk to be good at something. Like I get we kind of,
Hmm.
romanticize these athletes who, they had this Mamba mentality or they just tuned out everyone else or they were crazy. And
Right.
there is a certain mental aspect that you probably have with that, but running 6 miles for a race is crazy. You don't need some extra additive outside of that. Like you're already signing yourself up for something that 99% of people can't do or don't do.
Hmm.
And so, wherever you're at, I think it's worth celebrating. Whether you're a 5 hour marathoner or a 350 miler. Like that's what I love about
Yeah.
running is you're constantly striving for something. Like if you're someone out there listening to this and you run a 7 minute mile and you're trying to break 6:30 in the mile, that feeling is maybe not the same, but probably similar to an Olympian who's like, man, I just have to reach this landmark. I just have to get a medal. Like that want and that need is
Yeah.
actually much more similar than we think. Just because the landmarks are different doesn't mean that the desire or the drive is different. But
Hmm.
then you also like that has to be talked about in a healthy way. I mean, yes, you have to be obsessive to a point, but you can't allow that to consume you. And like we've talked about, your faith, your friendships, the relationships you've made with your team, both outside of the program and inside the program, obviously shows there's a lot more to running than just the time on the clock.
Right.
Final question before I let you get out of there or get out of here. For our listeners, whether they're a runner or whether they're a high schooler, maybe thinking about going into college, just kind of your experience based on what you know and what you've learned, just kind of a message to those that are involved in running.
Yeah. My message is learn to love it. I feel like if you don't love it, especially like in college, it's going to be hard and it's going to suck and you're not going to like it. And maybe you like the people, but I don't know. This isn't a sport for those who aren't committed. You know what I mean? Especially like in a college environment. Like there's so many great things you could do, and I say like really like in yourself, just like ask yourself like, what do I love to do, and do I love running, and how can I commit to this? And if you do, uh, enjoy it. Like just really take the time to just like every moment just enjoy where you're at, enjoy like just being with your people, enjoy that 15-mile long run that you don't really want to do, but I mean, you're hitting mile 13 and your body's moving, and just like be so thankful. Like I feel like having an attitude of gratitude while you're running is just so important. And like for me, I'm always like bringing that back to just thank you, God, for the talents and abilities you've given to me, that I get to have the blessing of running, to be healthy, to be fit, that I can be clipping off outrageous paces at the end of a long run. Um, and that is all working together for doing something great because I've been given the opportunity. So just learn to love it and just be thankful for everything that you've been given. I think that is what makes running so special. And I think that's what keeps people coming back and builds good programs as well as refines you as a person.
Well, Mike, we want to thank you for coming on, dude. This is the first, like I talked about, hopefully the first of many conversations we're going to have with runners, whether it's at the collegiate level, former pros, current pros, people just in the running community, whatever it is. Everyone's got a story, everyone's got a purpose, a reason, a why, and couldn't have drawn up a better guy to start this series with than Micah. So, Mike, we want to thank you not only for just coming on the pod, but just being a good dude, being a good friend. The last 3 years, just getting to know you, it's been nothing but special, dude. We really appreciate you
Thank
taking
you,
the
man.
time to come on, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's miss you, dude, and I'm just grateful to be a part of what you're doing. You're doing something great here, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.